Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm one of those people, I listen to record albums, but my brothers signed me up for one of these music streaming services so I could stop, having to mess around with all of this stuff. And these services, they remember everything that you listen to. And it can make you face some hard truths about yourself. Because last December, the streaming service said, hey, do you want to know what your most played song of 2022 was? I said, I don't need you to tell me that. It told me anyway. It was Surrey with the Fringe on top. Because all year long, I had been listening to it, chicks and ducks and geese better scurry. Like, when I was sad, it made me smile. When I was happy, it made me dance. I'm going to do a dance solo right now. It made me dance. I dance like this. And so all year long, I was kind of bopping around with this song in my head. My wife would roll her eyes at me. My kids got so sick of it, they would say, Dad, turn that crap down. I would say, you just don't understand me. I put on my headphones, chicks and ducks and geese better scurry. I wouldn't say that this song would do for you what it did for me. And I should warn you, it's highly addictive. I wouldn't prescribe it to everyone here, but I would like to think that we all have songs like that. Songs that can speed us up or calm us down. Songs that can get us out of a destructive spiral and into a constructive mood. Songs that help us heal. Medicine. For many of us, this word conjures the image of an orange pill bottle we got from the people in the long white coats. We go to the pharmacy, we give them our secret code, our birthday, and then we prove that we're adults by engineering the bottle open, and the label contains some constellation of syllables, like abracadabra or acetaminophen. We have no idea what it means. But we are assured, imagine this, we are assured that the chemicals in the pills will enter our bodies, navigate their way to the part that hurts, and fix it. That's medicine. But when I study indigenous cultures, the word medicine means something else. Medicine can mean a walk in the woods, the wave of a feather, an embrace, a song, a dance. Now, we can consider these things medicinal, but you can't put it into a bottle. And then, of course, indigenous cultures have the plants, the root of this one, the leaf of that one, or a flower boiled in water. Some of these have been bottled and marketed as herbal medicines. Some of them have become our coffee, our tea, our soft drinks. Coca-Cola used to contain cocaine, but these days it's mostly made out of corn. And the medicines we take as pills, the miracle drugs, they don't come from fairy dust and rainbow beams and unicorn breath. They may seem magical, but they come from the earth. For centuries, chemists, and then pharmaceutical company researchers have been following shamans and witch doctors around, carefully notating the roots, barks, blossoms, leaves, mosses, and mushrooms that they use to treat tribal communities. Shamanism. It seems like quaint magic, but let's remember this. Tribal peoples have the same size brain that we do. And if someone was really just guessing and making up mumbo-jumbo, vaguely saying it came from spirit hallucinations, if the stuff didn't work most of the time, these cultures would not have kept returning to their shamans for thousands of years. There was no certificate, no grand council that said, you have to keep believing this witch doctor, even if their last 9 house calls have all been scatterbrained jabberwocky. People only kept going to that healer because they were repeatedly successful. And if shamanistic medicine worked, it's because it was mostly a memorization of patterns, causalities. If this, then that. The accumulated medical and herbal knowledge of the tribe. We can forget this because tribal wisdom is in the public domain. No member has a monopoly on its use or a proprietary right to hold the knowledge hostage. Our pharmaceutical companies get rich by copywriting recipes and giving them Greek names. Greek is a language we can trust. It creates the illusion that white people in togas came up with the medicine and not some shirtless witch doctor in the outback. But many of these medicines did come from those shamans, those people that you wouldn't believe them if they said, rub this flour on it. But you take that flour, you grind it up, you put it into a little, like a poultice or a cream or a white pill, and we do it. And we say, yes, I believe this because the doctor told me so. Seneca activist John Mohawk said, to my knowledge, no one ever found a plant that had a medicinal use that the indigenous people of that area didn't know about. You could assume some of them spent thousands of years experimenting on it. What plant do you use? What part of the plant? When do you harvest it? How do you use it? Do you swallow it? Do you rub it on? What do you do with it? Maybe you just dance around it. Who knows? When we disregard the indigenous roots of our chemical medicines, we also lose the importance of the female healers. In Native American communities, a lot of medicine people were women who had passed their childbearing years. Not that they would go to night school to start a second career. People would just start showing up and saying, hey, you raised 6 kids, 5 survived. I bet you've seen every kind of sickness there is and remember what was done about it. In our culture, we may think of medicine as a primarily male practice. But we know from anthropology that this is only a very recent development. Thousands of years before X-rays, there were women and some men who could look at the outward signs of the body and envision what was going on inside. Long before the ultrasound, there were midwives whose hands on a belly could track the development and positioning of a fetus. There were people who knew the patterns. When you hear this particular bird song, it means that such and such berry is just about to start sprouting over that hill. Dry those out and they'll cure an upset stomach. The stuff that if we heard a Siberian shaman say it, we might say, that's so charming. But in Europe, they would say, that's a witch in league with Lucifer. But it's not dark magic. It's pattern recognition. I recently encountered a quote. Medicine has always been more an art than a science. I thought, wait a minute. I have a liberal arts degree, but having dissected a poem does not qualify me to cut someone open. But that quote has really stuck with me. Medicine has always been more an art than a science. Doctors are people too. I become more aware of this as I get older and doctors keep becoming younger. What's up with that? Plus, I'm married to a doctor who trains other doctors. I recently took my son to an appointment. The doctor said to him, well, you tried this, it didn't work. You want to try this? I said, whoa, he's 16 years old. Why are you asking for his advice? But our doctors know that there's no such thing as an exact science. That's why we have that most disturbing phrase in the medical profession, second opinion. Like, wait a minute. What about what the other doctor said? Is that an opinion too? Like, which one of these is fact? It's like the old joke where the patient says, "Doctor, I've been to see 3 other specialists, and not one agrees with your diagnosis or your course of treatment." And the doctor says, "Hey, listen to whoever you want, but the autopsy will prove me right." I know, I came across it. That was such a dark joke, but I really like it. In this last century, scientists have made remarkable progress in proving that emotion is biochemical, that laughter is a mechanical spasm, that tears are windshield fluid, that the so-called demons that possessed and plagued our ancestors were just toxic spills and faulty wiring. But then along comes the coronavirus. Our doctors scrambled to diagnose it, identify its molecular structure, and synthesize a vaccine. But in those 2 years, we also learned a valuable lesson that health is more than chemical. It's also interpersonal. There's more to humanity than can be dissected or atomized and inventoried in test tubes. Sitting down with another person in the room, that is medicinal, even if they don't say anything. I'm finally back in therapy for my anxiety and depression. The first thing I looked for in choosing a therapist was someone who was 1 mile away from my house, so that each appointment comes with 2 20-minute walks. I spend the walk there choosing a topic, carefully articulating it, mumbling it until I've got it precisely crystallized. And then I spend the walk back parsing through those elements that came out more clearly with the therapist's questions. Often I find that it's on the walks that I make the most progress. Sometimes the therapist doesn't even show up. He's a good guy, but a little bit flighty about announcing cancellations. But I can't complain because I accomplish a lot in 2 miles of walking. And sometimes I get home from a cancellation thinking, wow, that would have really been a waste of his time. This problem wasn't nearly as big as I imagined when I woke up this morning. And then there are those appointments that remind me how important it is to be in a safe space where I can speak openly, honestly, by which I mean whining and belly aching and saying, why me? Why me? And then when I've laid out this whole crisis, he'll often say, you know what you need? A good long walk in the sunshine. A walk in the sunshine, that's medicinal. Somehow, solar radiation produces a chemical reaction in human skin that makes vitamin D. Don't ask me how. Now, we can synthesize vitamin D. We can put it into a bottle. But we all know that there's more to a walk in the sunshine than just chemicals. It can also brighten our mood in ways that cannot be measured in a laboratory. Something else that you cannot synthesize in a lab and seal up in a bottle. The feeling of walking in here this morning. It's a warm, safe feeling. It's a feeling of sanctuary. Being greeted with smiles and handshakes. Not having to pretend to be more organized and competent than you are. Unless you're me. but I've got years of training in that. And you don't have to wonder if the smiles that you receive are a professional courtesy for a customer, a client, a patient. That feeling is medicinal. We keep coming back for more of that feeling. And here's something else. You receive that feeling, and you're also part of that for someone else. This congregation contains no inactive ingredients. We are part of that medicine, even the quiet ones. My wife says, the church coffee is just water with a little brown in it. She may be right. We can make better coffee at home. But I know this, you can't open a can and turn on a machine and make coffee hour. Thank you.